important.
We're back at it again, behind the keys with Jack. Today I am bringing onto the piano one of my dearest friends who really helped me push my brand to a certain level that I did not think it could go. She's like a financial advisor as well. She was there from one of our deepest downtimes, which was like during the pandemic, and she wound up saving us and keeping us afloat. Aside from this, just most recently, from the door, she's seen our success and she saw us grow, changing our company from an LLC to an S corp, and she is a high-profiled accountant with celebrity status up there. So I'm honored to have her. Well, I'm honored to be a client of hers, and most importantly, it's just like she keeps growing, and ideally everyone wants to have this Margo brand, but Margo's very selective now, and if she's in taking, I don't even think she's taking anyone on no more. But this is Margo. Margo, I'll turn the camera to you, Margo. Can you just follow up to what I say? I want to know more about you.
Thank you for having me, Jack. Everything you said was on brand, on point. A lot of people do consider me a financial advisor, but I'm also an accountant. I'm a tax preparer. I help businesses with their original structure, and I'm with them for the rest of their lives. And that's really, you touched upon the main point. In my signature line in my email, it says not accepting new clients.
That's a crazy business card that you have, because like that's so ballsy, but it makes a statement.
Yeah, not accepting new. It's like, kind regards, Margo Bordes de Jesus, not accepting new clients. And there's a reason for that, because all of my clients are like, I met all of my clients when they started out, single member LLCs.
We were basic.
Maybe they weren't even formed or incorporated yet. And they were just, okay, I'm going to do this self-employment thing. I'm going to just jump out onto the scene and see where this goes. And I'm going to say that about 99% of them grew within the first 2 years because they were talented and hardworking. And we had to restructure. And probably within the first 2 to 4 years of me working with them, they opened up a second company or a third company or a fourth or a fifth company. And before I know it, without advertising and without searching for new business, one client becomes 5. And these are businesses that are growing.
That's what stuck with me, and that's something that I advocated to some mutual friends that we have that are currently your client as well.
I did accept a new client.
Crystal knows what's up. We'll give Crystal a little shout out. But one of the things that I thought was really fascinating and it stuck with me was that this person will remain nameless, but one of your high profile clients, you can live off of one person because of the amount of business that person was like creating for you.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't just like a family thing. It was like a personal thing, became like an investment. So it stuck with me. It was like, you know what? Shit, I got to keep Margo busy because Margo doesn't need just a basic Jack.
Right, and that's what I tell people when people are like, hey, my neighbor needs an accountant. Can you do her taxes? And I'll be like, what do they have going on? And they're like, oh, no, they have one W-2 and something. I'm like, that's not what I do.
Right.
They don't need me. I am looking to invest in a relationship, in a partnership where someone is going to go from 1 to 5 businesses and have real estate that we also have to manage, capital gains. That's what I'm looking for.
And well, because of you now, it's because it's like I'm an advocate now. Just like I spend a lot to keep a business afloat. You gave me the definition of spending makes money, and you have to spend to make money, from this building, from the Sugar Tree brand, a lot of stuff. And I was questioning, like, where do I go with this when I felt like, even though I have the drive and the passion to be successful, there was something that had to push me. And I think you pushed me and were like, hey, Margo, all right, you see the money I have. Can I make it? Can I do it? What's going on? And then, and it just like really kept, now I got to keep doing more businesses because now I got to keep you busy. That's how it is.
Did I give you my one-liner? Scared money don't make money?
Scared money don't make money. That's good. You should tattoo that.
I already have that. No, I would never. But that's basically something that I always tell my clients. They're like, hey, I have this money here. And I'm like, scared money don't make money. What are you doing with it? You're going to park it in a savings account, a CD, a bond? What are you doing with this?
Are you considered like an entertainer, an entertainment accountant, financial advisor? Because I feel like that's more of like your expertise.
So I'm going to let you in on a secret.
Oh, let's go.
If you know how to do taxes, if you know how to do financial statements and accounting, you know how to. Don't ever hit me with the Jackson Hewitt H&R Block. I respect what they do. What they do is not what I do. They do no.
No.
If you know how to do financial statements and accounting, you know how to do it. If you know how to do tax returns, you know how to do tax returns. However, I've been in practice now for 15 years. Numita Inc. has been in practice for 15 years. And I have exclusively worked with entertainers, artists, producers, dancers, writers, DJs, business owners. And it's a niche. It's a niche business. I see how they spend their money. I see how money moves. I see their streams of income, and I see what they're doing. And I do have a leg up. I do.
You're like the Matrix. You can see like the numbers.
Yeah, like I see how everything comes in and goes. And I see how things are structured. The production advances come here. Then they have to produce an album. And then they have to shoot videos. And then they're doing the promo. I have an understanding on how entertainers make money and move money. And yeah, I do have a few clients that are not in entertainment. They're like just in other real estate, construction, other things. But what I love is the entertainment accounting, because there are nuances to it that I understand that if I were to speak to another CPA or just another random accountant who has never dealt with a producer or a rapper or a dancer, and if there would be some, I don't know, some background that they're missing. They wouldn't be as creative. Yeah. I am very creative. That is my talent.
Yes.
When I tell my clients, could you go to another accountant? You could. Would they get you to this same number or approach your finances with the same creativity? Yeah. The answer is no. And right. I take that to the bank. They don't have it.
No.
They couldn't do it.
You tell it.
They couldn't do it.
You tell how it is. Look at that.
They couldn't do it.
So how long have you been in business?
15 years.
15 years?
15 years with my own firm. Yeah.
So 15 years with your own firm, but if I recall, you were working for a big company, a corporate company. Were you working for a big
I'll
corporate?
Say their name. It's
okay.
Ernst & Young.
Ernst & Young, that's what it was.
E&Y.
You worked with them for quite some time, and obviously everyone gets their feet wet with that because that's like just a monster of a company.
Yeah.
And then you grew your company. It wasn't an easy path going solo for the time being. How did you survive with just, I'm going to take this by myself?
I moved to Miami, and I remember just hating it. It was a weird time in Miami. It was like the recession was happening.
What year was that?
2008, 2009. Okay. So
I
it was
graduated high school at that time.
Stop it. No, you didn't. Impossible.
No, I know.
Impossible. Okay. So I moved to
Thanks
Miami.
For hurting my feelings.
I think you're older than me, but I'm not even going to go there. We're young. What am I talking about?
I know.
We are like gallinita fina here, so don't even.
I don't speak German.
Totally Spanish. I remember I was working with the firm for a few years. They moved me down to Miami. I'm in Miami for a few years, and then there was a recession happened. Everyone's house was underwater, and at the time we did have an entertainment client. And I just remember hating waking up at 6:30 every day, schlepping to the office. I love the word schlep. Wearing the whole suit thing, just having to be at the office. And I was just miserable. And this client was like, could you do what you do at the firm just for me if I were to hire you? And I was like, I kind of signed the non-compete, so no, I can't. But it dropped the seed. I was like, could I do this on my own? And you think you can't, because
the fear.
There's so much that goes into having your own business. First of all, it's the software. There's accounting software, there's tax software, there's insurance, there's, just computers, monitors. And you're like, could I do this myself? Because when you work at these big firms, what I'll always be thankful for are the resources that they showed me. There were assistants and managers and the partners, and you had a back office and processing to put together one big corporate tax return. It was like a whole floor coming together. Right. Granted, these are $1 million companies, and you think you can't do it on your own, but there I am hustling, working with this client one-on-one, basically doing everything. And I was like, could I do this? And he was the one who's like, you could do this. Anyway, I ended up leaving.
Yes.
Waited for my non-compete to run its course. And I did start my own company. And it's funny because when you said, was it hard? I don't want to say this, but it was too easy. It was
I could see that happening for you because, first off, with your brand, with your smile, your energy, I could see how people really gain the trust instantly and how you won't offend them by you being so real.
Yeah.
So with this particular client, I could see that how you developed a relationship, and then obviously he just kept you busy and you had no worries.
It was too easy. And that's what I tell all of my entrepreneurs and all of my new clients. Sometimes I call the stars aligning. Sometimes the stars just align. Things fall on your lap and it's too easy. And I'm like, listen, I'm a big signs person. I'm always like, what's your sign? I'm a Gemini. What are you? And I just feel like when things fall into place and it's too easy, I'm like, take that momentum and keep it going.
Yeah.
Now, you need much more than signs and luck to make it.
Oh, 100%.
However, if it's so easy in the beginning and the clients are coming and the relationships, again, I hit the microphone, jeez.
Stop,
and
you can't drop it.
I have to tie my hands. And if the relationships are coming in and you're doing the work and it's getting done, if you put all the work into something day in and day out, year after year, you're going to see results. I almost tell people, having your own business is like being on a fitness plan. If
Tolerance.
Count your macros and you are like weighing your food, and if you're waking up at 6 o'clock and you're going to the gym every day and you're drinking a whole ton of water and not drinking a lot of alcohol, and you mean to tell me that after 6 months of eating like that and working out like that, you're not going to see any results? Like, I mean, granted, maybe you have a thyroid problem or something else, but that's a situation. For the majority of the people, if you work very hard at something and make something a priority, you're going to see results. And that's basically how my business started.
So you can say consistency is really one of the key ingredients, and I guess and building a tolerance as well, I assume, to just not fuck up.
That's another thing. Consistency is key. Being disciplined is key. Being responsible is key. And you have to have patience. It's almost like a marriage almost.
Yeah.
You're married to your business, because when things don't work out or when things are not easy, it's so easy to be like, screw this, I'm going to throw in the towel and get a 9 to 5 and work for someone else because it's just easier. And perhaps it would be not to have your phone blowing up, not to have to deal. Because remember, self-employed people, they don't just do their job. And you're also your own HR department. You're also your own.
I failed at here.
No, HR. The HR is the worst job to have. But you're doing the job of so many. So I can see why you would have that burnout. Why you would say, oh, I can't do this. I wanted to just do DJing, but here I am. And I still deal with a lot of financial things with you. I still burden you like, hey, Jack, look at this sales tax. Hey, Jack, look at these financials. Hey, Jack, look at this P&L. You have someone to do it, but I still need you to be involved.
I have double the pressure now, not just with you. Yeah. Now I have my mom, who's also like my bookkeeper. And now I'm dealing with the Sugar Tree Cafe girls over there. So like I'm being bombarded by like all women. And they need answers and response. And I'm like, okay, let me try to get my composure set. But
that's right. You do employ a lot of women.
I think
you are managed by a team.
I've said that. I've said that before. I think I can't move on without all the women in my life. And the women in my life, besides my wife, you're part of my little circle as well. You guys push me, even my insurance person, everyone. They were all women. They were all women. I was surprised. And shout out to the ladies. But now I'm playing with the mic now. All right. So let's dive into a little bit more of the purpose of your success and how a lot of people in our industry are really questioning a little bit S Corp LLC. Why should they transition into an S Corp? Is it for them? Is it not for them? But a lot of companies, you definitely, in your opinion, they should start off as LLC just to get their feet wet.
I would say that the structure that your business takes, it depends on the type of liability protection you need. Also, the amount of income that you're earning. Is this just a side hustle, or this is like your bread and butter? This is all you have going on. And also the type of budget that you have, because I'm going to be very honest. I mean, you pay my bill every time I send it. To run businesses, there's a cost to run it. It doesn't just run itself. To do the accounting, to do the filings, like filing a corporate tax return that has K1s is significantly harder and more tedious than just sneaking in a Schedule C for a single member LLC on your personal return. It's a different tax return. It's a different type of filing. It's a different type of accounting. And so there is a cost associated to that. So if someone is making an additional 20, 30 grand a year, which I would say good for you.
Yeah.
If you're
That's a good side hustle you would
right,
consider.
exactly. Yeah. If you are a teacher by day and you can sneak in another.
So what are the clues that kind of tell you that, you know what, I think you're breaking that mold from becoming an LLC, you're becoming a little bit more, is there a certain like threshold, there's a certain like money where it's like, you know what, I got to move into a different category?
Right. Now, there are a lot of factors to consider, but if you just wanted like a quick, if you are making more than 100 grand a year on this self-employment, in my opinion, you should be an S corp, because there's a self-employment tax savings there. So single member LLCs, you're subject to self-employment tax.
Yes.
So you have your gross income less expenses equals net income. That net income is subject to self-employment tax. Side, period. Now, when you have an S corp, you have the ability to not pay self-employment tax on the entire portion of that net income. Granted, you do have to have an employee, like an actual employee of your S corp, and that employee will get W-2 wages and pay self-employment tax on those W-2 wages. However, for everything else that flows through, it's not subject to self-employment tax. So that's one example of many on if you're making over 100 grand and you can pay yourself a nominal salary and just pay self-employment tax on the nominal salary, and then not pay self-employment tax on the rest of it, there's a significant tax savings there. What I like to throw out is I say, if you're making about $100,000, that means you can afford the accounting services and the tax services that would be able to maintain an S corp to file you that way.
And you wouldn't recommend, if someone made $200,000, to stick with LLC at that point, because you would think they're high liability or they have bigger risks?
Now we're saying 200,000 gross or net?
Let's just say net.
Yeah, at that point, you're paying self-employment tax on the entire 200,000 net. You're throwing away money. Now, people would say, self-employment tax is not that bad. Included in there is your Social Securities. No, I wouldn't suggest having a single member LLC for $200,000.
Now, you play everything by the books, which I give you a lot of credit for. You don't hide anything. You're pretty awesome with that, because like you really put me straight. And I'm sure you have a lot of your clients that are like, hey, how can we hide this? How can we watch this? Or anything like. So that's why I respect what you say, what you do. But I tell my wife this all the time, is I feel like I have like several girlfriends. Catherine, who spends all my money.
Shout out to Catherine.
She spends all my money at LJ DJs when we have to invest. Then I see Margo going in my account, taking her fees, like you mentioned. I'm like,
I just pay myself. I'm like, hey, Jack, I'm going to pay myself. Okay.
But I just love that type of convenience that you guys take care of it. And I appreciate that. It does come at a nice cost.
Absolutely.
And convenience does cost money. And that's always been something I said before. Now, the transitioning to open up an LLC, I think that's someone that they can do themselves. But now to transition from LLC to S corp, how's that process? Is that an easy process to do?
So yes and no, and there's a time constraint. So you could open up an LLC, but to become an S corp, you have to file something called an S election. So you can't just open up an S corp.
Okay.
First, you have to open up either an LLC or a corporation with your state. That's step one. Second, you apply for an EIN number. The EIN number isn't applied for with the state. You would apply for an EIN number through the IRS.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's separate. Then the third step to become an S corp is you would then do a form called a 2553 that would make you, it's called an S election. That would make you an S corp. You only have a certain amount of months or less than a year before the filing of that first corporate tax return. Sometimes they give you could do retroactively. You only have a certain amount of time to do that S election.
Okay.
So it's not like you can have your LLC for several years and then do an S election for that same company.
Okay.
However, what I have seen people do is have an LLC under one name. Let's just say LJ Productions. Maybe you have a single member LLC for a few years. And if you see things are picking up and we're past the point to do an S election for that entity, I would say, okay, let's open up a new entity, LJ DJs, make that an S corp. I've seen people do that a lot, where they have a single member LLC, and maybe you can keep that LLC for other things. And then later down the line, if you need more time to decide whether an S corp would be best for you, you could open up another entity at that time and make that an S corp. But to make an original LLC an S corp, you do have a limited time. You can't do that 8 years later.
One of the controversial stuff that a lot of business owners go through from an S corp and LLC is staffing. So when we hire staff, I think I believe you were the one who told me this, or I believe you were telling, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you mentioned to me that if these DJs, for instance, if these entertainers or DJs are coming on board with LJ DJs, do they have their own tax number?
Okay.
Or if they don't, they're employees, right?
Yeah.
So we're S corp, and we've filtered a lot of DJs. A lot of DJs apply to be with us, and then of course we tell them like, oh, listen, I asked the question, are you filing taxes? Under what name? Is it your social? Is it your TIN? Whatever the case is. Do you have an official business? And that's the part where it's no, I don't have an official business. So they technically become an employee. Am I right?
So this is the age-old question: W-2 employee versus 1099 contractor. This topic is one of the most abused, manipulated, and scrutinized areas in tax. So I'll just give you some
You even used
highlights.
your shoulders. That was great. Like
Yeah.
you even added more spice to that.
Well, that's it. It really is. It's a dance. It is a dance. So if you're a W-2 employee, I'm gonna pretend that I'm a DJ.
What would be your DJ name?
Oh my God. No, Margo Tita Cha-Cha. Hello, let's not reinvent the wheel. Margo Tita Cha-Cha. So if I don't have a business set up and I only do jobs for you and I use your equipment and you're the one that does all of my bookings and you're basically like my person. I show up at the wedding or event that you tell me to go to, that you have booked. You're going to collect the money. I'm going to use your equipment. I'm your employee. That is that. You must pay me as an employee and furnish me with the W-2. However, if I have my own LLC going, I set my own schedule. Yes, I do work for you, but I also do work for a bunch of other people. I do sweet 16s, bar mitzvahs, weddings. Like I say, I do things on my own.
Yes.
So I do my other jobs that are not just you. I have my own equipment. I have my own speakers, my own laptop, my own smoke machine, my own lighting. I have my own things. I have my own insurance, maybe my own general liability insurance or workers' comp. If I have more control on my scheduling, on my equipment, how I DJ, then I'm a contractor. I'm 1099. Now, the thing is, nothing is so black and white ever.
Right.
Maybe I have my own LLC and maybe I have my own laptop, but you're the only person that I work for. So at that point, I have my own equipment and I have an LLC, but you're still my only source of income. We've reached some murky waters here. So that is why it's so hard because, just because you're the only person that gives me work, I still can have my own LLC.
Yeah.
It just happens that I can't get jobs anywhere else. That you just happen to be the best funnel of work.
What are the benefits though now becoming,
okay.
an employee compared to just, a subcontractor?
You're talking to a self-employed person and bringing back, I am an advocate to self-employment. I think that the only way to beat the system and to actually make it in this world, if you can, is to be self-employed. Because by being self-employed, you get paid, but you can also then deduct expenses against that income. When you're a W-2 employee, your employer is supposed to provide everything that you need. You're not really having your own expenses. Your employer provides everything.
Yes.
And so when you get paid, you cannot deduct business expenses against W-2 income. You're just paying the tax off of that and you're done. You're like, that's it. You're paying that tax. When you're self-employed, let's do an example. Say I'm a DJ and I'm going to do a gig for 10 grand. I'm the best.
Yes, you are.
So if I'm your employee, you're going to pay me $10,000. And in that W-2, they're withholding federal income tax, state income tax, Social Security, Medicare, all the things. So of that $10,000, I'll probably, see seven and change?
Yes.
Maybe 8, and that's that. Say that's the only income I have in my whole life. When I do my taxes, that's it. That got paid. I'm not really getting that back. That's what was owed there. Now, say I do a job as a contractor and you 1099 me that $10,000. Against that 1099, I'm going to deduct a whole gang of expenses. My telephone, my mileage, maybe a home office, my computer, my Spotify to download all my music, maybe some Amazon props that I've collected over the year, some professional development, some meals and entertainment. I'm deducting things that aren't necessarily from your job, but for my business that I needed to be that type of a contractor in order to make that type of an income.
Gotcha.
So a business expense isn't necessarily an expense that I incurred only for this stream of income. It's also to be that type of a DJ to be able to command that much of an income.
Right. Now, why do you feel that, let's just say, a lot of staff or a lot of DJs are afraid of being sole proprietors?
Because I feel like that is client education. To this day, some people be like, no, just pay me cash. I don't want this to be on the books.
I get that all the time.
And I'm like, why? Why? Oh, I don't want to report it. Because they're afraid of taxes. It's like they've never filed a tax return
Yes.
and they never paid taxes. And again, for me, at first, remember, I don't want to say exclusively do Latin entertainment, but I would say I exclusively do Latin entertainment. And I'm Cuban. I love my people. Don't get me started. They are the queens and kings of, nah, pay me cash. And
Yeah.
I don't want, and I'm like, let's not make this like a thing. I get, and I don't want to say it's because of child support. I'm not going there. They're just afraid of claiming income, and they're afraid of the tax consequence that comes with that. So then I have to go into this whole lesson. I'm like, listen, how much money are you trying to make? Are you trying to make just $5,000 cash and that's the only money you ever make in your life? Because I'd rather make 50 on the books than $5,000 cash. Give me the 50 on the books. I'll deduct. And also, hold on. What type of a business are you working with? Because when you work with the big boys and the big girls and the big companies, they're like, you work for Sony and Billboard, they're sending you a check.
Yes.
If you're going to do a DJ set for a Latin Grammy after party, Universal's sending you a check. No one's paying you cash.
100%.
So I always say, what are you trying to do, like a backyard like barbecue? Or you're trying to do like an event? Because a real event that's real money is going to pay you with the cash, a check, ACH, wire. No one's paying you a lot of money cash, you know?
Right.
So I always tell people, don't be afraid of money. I have to do a whole lesson. You have to claim the money, which is gross income. Then you deduct expenses, but then they're worried that they don't have the expenses. And I'm like, yes, you do. I ask them simple questions. Do you have internet? Do you have a laptop? Do you have a car? Did you have to download anything? Did you have to purchase anything? Like, you have expenses. So it's gross income less expenses equals net income. You pay tax on the net income. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, oh, okay. But again, it's all client education. If they've never done it, then they're afraid of it. And everyone's like afraid of taxes.
Have you had any like dramatic stories where no one listened to you and they just went, they did it their way and then the consequences come out? Can you share a story?
Where to begin?
I know you have to have some juicy.
I can, without naming
just
names.
one big
I've
incident
had,
that still scars you.
I've had clients that are part of bands and part of big groups where they've gotten distributions of a whole chunk of money. And I'm like, hey, you just got a whole chunk of money. Let's send an estimated tax payment, like a quarterly tax payment, because getting a distribution for 120 grand, yes, you have expenses, but you get to the point, you're going to have to pay tax of some sort. So, let's send 10, 20 grand to the IRS. And they're like, no, I'll pay it next year when you do my taxes. And I'm like, let's not play that game. You just got a chunk of money now. Please, let's send some money. And then they're like, Margo, you're always trying to tie up my money. And okay, cool. Then tax day comes. And perhaps that was the only 120 that they saw. Maybe they just did one big thing and they didn't see anything else for the rest of the year. And at least I know my clients love to eat. They love to buy things exactly. They love to buy chains. They love to buy watches. They love to go out. They love to get bottles. They love women. They love sporting events. They love shoes. They love tattoos. They're loving all the things. Run through all that money. Next April comes and I'm like, hey, tax due $42,000. And they're like, what? Appalled. And they don't realize not everything you do is a tax deduction. Like, I'm very creative. I can deduct a gang of things, but not everything is 100% deductible. Mm-hmm. So just because you went through all your money doesn't mean that 120 came in, you have 120 of taxable deductions. There is a tax to pay. And then when they don't have the money to pay it, they're like, Margo.
So what happens after that?
Then they're like, can I go on my payment plan? And I'm like,
payment plan to pay for your services or to pay for the taxes?
Oh, no, to pay for the tax, the IRS. Then they don't realize to pay the IRS, like you can pay them in installments all you want. That interest is 5% per month. It's a lot of money. So if you owe 40, 50 grand and you only want to send a couple $1,000s here and there, I'm like, you're going to be paying this for years. So that's something that I see a lot with new artists. I call it new money.
Yes.
That they've never seen money over a couple $1,000s before. So they think that it's going to be forever. and they think that with a very minimal amount of maintenance and effort that it's just going to keep on going. And that's not the case. My clients that have been making money for the entire 15 years, it's like a marriage. You have to recommit to it every day. You have to reinvent yourself and work almost harder to maintain that level of income.
Gotcha. Now, are there any, I guess, like any suggestions, any key things that you can share of when people are starting businesses, how to really start collecting receipts and what to write off? Let's just start with, like, I guess LLC and S Corp are the same type of taxing, I'm assuming.
Well,
so,
the types of
deductions.
Yeah, I would say as much as possible, open up a business checking account. And open up a business credit card, either like a Chase Inc. or a Sapphire, or, you know, I'm plugging Chase right now. You can do Bank of America also, or Wells Fargo. Please stay away from these mom and pop banks. I remember when I first started my career, I had clients that were like banking at these little credit
Diego
unions.
and Son and Pizza.
Dude, I was just like, this account is impossible. There's no Zelling. There's no wiring. It's impossible to move money in and out. Try to bank somewhere that has business banking resources. Love Chase, love Bank America, love Wells Fargo. Open up a credit card and put everything on the credit card or through your checking account. Because what happens is when people start paying things cash, those things get lost.
Yeah.
You're going to forget. And then what happens a lot is that my clients would send me a voice note via WhatsApp, which is like the cardinal sin in Numila Inc. Don't send me voice notes. Don't send me. I hate it. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm going to wipe my ass.
We're diving into your pet peeves now.
I wipe my ass with those voice notes because I'll be like, hey, logged into the checking account, saw a deposit.
So let's ask that question. What do you not do? Like,
Ooh.
what don't you do to taxes?
Okay.
Let me rewind. Let me ask that question properly. Ready? Yeah. What not to say and do to accountants? Go.
Oh, my God. Okay. All of the cash movement, like depositing cash, taking out cash, that's weird because when I'm downloading the bank statements, I'm going to see, okay, a weird cash deposit and then a weird cash withdrawal. What happened here? Is that cash deposit income? Like, did you do a show and you're depositing that? Or is that you taking money from your mattress, your life savings, and being like, oh, the account is low, I have to deposit cash? I don't know how to classify that. So that's going to require a call or an email. Hey, Jack, saw cash deposit. What is this? So again, you're creating unnecessary volume. And then you're going to forget. No one remembers what they did yesterday. So then cash withdrawals without sending me an email. If you're going to do a cash withdrawal, immediately send me an email. Hey, took out $8,000. How to buy a car cash. Done. Because when I see a cash withdrawal, I'm like, what was this? What did you buy? Again, I have to either call you or send an email. Hey, saw a cash withdrawal. Don't send me voice notes. Have everything documented in an email, because if you send me an email, I'm like, okay, this is what happened. Printing this email to PDF, putting it in your 22 or 2023 tax folder. So when I'm reconciling that month, I'm like, oh,
You're very organized.
this is what happened. Great. What has happened, I would send someone an email, and then at 3 a.m., again, love my Latin community. I am Cuban. I'm
When they're
Caribbean.
coming back from their club seats.
No, I will get a voice note, Margo, que lo que, and then it's this 2-minute ramble. No, I deposited this, and then what happened was
This is a Dominican artist. It has to be a Cuban artist, Puerto Rican artist. The way you're saying it, it sounds really great.
Well, I just went que lo que because why not? I'll spread it out. But then it goes into this 2-minute discourse of, no, because I had to deposit this, and then I had to pay, the security, and then this and that, and it's just like this ramble. And it's just a mess at that point, because it's like you paid 6 things with that cash. None of it is documented. So what, I'm supposed to do like a manual adjusting journal entry to your QuickBooks, which I do, but it's messy. If you get audited, the IRS is going to be like, what is all this? So it's just messy. And then what do I do with that voice note? I'm going to wipe my ass with it. It's like, what, I'm going to save the voice note to my music and then put it to your folders.
To your Spotify.
You know what I mean? Like, what do I do with this voice note? It's not a work paper. So that is like my gripe. I'm constantly trying to implement these like professional office tactics with my very creative, non-administrative clients. So the voice note thing, it kills me. But
with your company now, you're currently expanded from Miami, you're in Jersey, New York, and now you're in Los Angeles still? Are you out in the Cali area?
I do have a lot of
So is
clients
that
in
how
California.
the whole name came about?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, when I was coming up with a name, I knew I was doing entertainment because my first client was in entertainment, and I was like, "We've landed here. This is where we're at." So I was like, "Okay, I want to come up with a name," and I'm like, "Where did it all start?" I'm from New Jersey. I love New Jersey. You can talk all the crap you want about property taxes. I'm a Jersey girl. I love New Jersey, and so I'm like, it has to have New Jersey in it. And I'm like, but at the time I was living in Miami. So I'm like, oh, I want Miami. I feel like Latin entertainment. It's very Miami. But then again, everybody was moving to LA, and that's where all the stars are. So I played around with it. I was like, la mi nu, mi la nu mi. And I just loved Numila.
Numila.
And it's so funny because I do have clients in Chicago and a ton of clients in Houston, Texas. Do not sleep on Texas. So they're like, Margo, you should and Vegas. And they're like, no, you should have like a spin-off of Numila, like Shy Host. And I'm like, stop it.
No.
Stop
How
it.
big is your team right now currently?
Right now, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 of us.
5 girls.
Yeah.
And
oh no, it used to be an all-girl gang.
Oh,
But
and
we have a young man.
I feel like I met that young man
Yes,
one time.
he's a star.
Yes, okay.
Love him.
So we have 6 people.
5. No, 5 total.
Five,
Yeah.
5 total.
Yeah.
How was that process of filtering like the right employees? Because did you go through a lot of them and then like you picked and choose and they didn't survive the first week? What was that story like?
Let me tell you that staffing and hiring people has always been the hardest thing for any entrepreneur ever, and I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yeah.
Getting the right people to work with you, it's like this dangerous dance. And I think the pandemic was really what separated the very serious employees to people that you're just like, I could do without that. Before 2020, I think that we were in a landscape where you thought like any help is help. Okay, at least people are helping me. This is
Right.
great. After 2020, where you're like, resources are limited, times are weird. You really do need people that are responsible and dedicated and good at what they do. Also, hard workers are hard to find. Everyone is like this entitled, yeah, I'll do a couple hours here, whatever. And no one really takes responsibility or management for tasks. So to find someone that's good, it's hard.
Yes.
For me, I would say, and again, not, separating me too much from the rest of the world, is I deal with a lot of very sensitive information. And then again,
So what's the process if I wanted to work for you, like what exactly is my steps when I give you my resume, you give me an application to fill out, like what are the questions you would ask me to filter me out if I'm the right candidate to work for you?
first, I don't hire people off the street. I have to personally know you. Every single person that I've ever hired, I know them for more than 5 years. I probably even know their parents. I know their family.
Wow, you dive really into this, huh?
Oh, no, because you're dealing...
Where's your grandmother from?
No, really, you're dealing with
I'm gonna
social
see
security
your
numbers.
family tree.
Yeah, and you're dealing with social security numbers. You're dealing with bank account information. You have access to transactions. And this is just me personally, people that you hire at Sugar Tree, you don't need to know their grandparents. Please, it's impossible. It's really different.
Yeah.
For my business, I need to have this personal relationship because I need you to really never want to steal from me or steal information. And again, I have so many things in place.
Has that ever happened?
No.
Wow.
No, and I hope it never does. And honestly, I am blessed to have some of the best staff in the world. Like Belkis has been working with me since 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
She was at my wedding.
Yep.
She is my little sister. That girl would never steal from me. She would never be like, oh, I'm going to go into this and steal a credit card number. She's not doing that. Priscilla is another
one I remember.
She was also at my wedding. Again, her dad is one of my most successful clients. He was one of the best. He does radio promo. He's been my client for 10 years. I knew Priscilla when she was in 8th grade.
Wow.
So again, she's not
You
stealing.
even knew her homework and what she ate in 8th
Yeah,
grade. Look at that. That's
exactly.
how. That's crazy.
Absolutely. Michelle, I worked with Michelle. Michelle has been one of my best friends for, again, over 10 years. Josh's parents, Ileana, is one of my best friends.
I recall. He was the shy one, I think. Wasn't he shy when I met him, I think?
I guess he's a little shy. Yeah. So these are all people that I've known for years. Like my team is, and they're brilliant. Everyone is brilliant. Sometimes I'm just like, either you guys are really smart or I've been gassing myself up for 15 years. Because sometimes I'm like, guys, we're about to do something that's super complicated. It's like crazy. And then Josh will just be like, okay, I imported this. I looked at last year's. I took a stab at it. And I'm like, how'd you figure this out? I'm like, this took me like years. And he's nice. So he's, no, because you've already figured it out. So I just felt, I'm like, no, you're just a genius, man. You're brilliant.
Your team, it seems like your team does come together just in case there's like any major issues or any miscommunications with numbers and stuff like that. So that's a really great support team. We mentioned your girls and a little bit about your wedding, and we had your wedding, so that was really awesome to do. I'll tell you that. And excuse me, we had a lot of composure because we got there super early, and I think you remember this. We're at, we'll just call it Nohu or Onview, and the fire alarm goes off. Remember this? The fire alarm goes off.
I was baking. I was doing my under eye bake.
Everyone's outside. I think it even rained. Did it not rain?
Yes. And hello, did you see how beautiful it was this May 7th?
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, it's 41 degrees and raining the day of my wedding. Meanwhile, every other May 7th in the history of the world has been like a 60 to 72
The almanac
sunny.
said they knew they were going to...
That farmer's almanac was wrong.
Yes. And your wedding was interesting because like we knew the obstacles that we had to encounter, which is just like the loading, but we did not expect right from the door. We couldn't even load because the whole hotel had to go outside. Fire alarm, day of your wedding. So now me and Catherine are like panic mode. What are we going to do? All right, Margo knows there's a fire or something going on. And I think someone was smoking a cigarette in the hallway.
Somebody was smoking a cigarette.
So all right, 30 minutes outside. Everyone comes back inside. Now we're trying to move things around. Yeah. Okay, the dance floor. All right, this dance floor. It's like, all right, this is cute. Where's the rest? We're going over this. All right, they were puzzling this stuff. You had no idea what was happening. I don't think you remember what was going on. But me and Catherine are like, shit, we got to put something a little bit bigger and better. So that was one of the things what was happening behind the scenes. Is like, all right, we're calling other people. Fortunately, the venue did come through, I think, a little bit. I think they had extra pieces to make the dance floor a little bit more bigger.
Oh my God.
It's a unique space because you have 3 pillars, I believe. Yeah, 3 pillars. And we designed something really nice with you with a nice type of a round 360 video wall, DJ booth. This is not even starting the cocktail hour, okay? So we had a band, your family friends, I think.
That's
the
right.
Cuban band. They went in, great. Did you enjoy your cocktail? Were you even there for your cocktail hour?
Yes. So we did come out. I said hello to a bunch of people. I saw the Jose Luis Serrano band. Shout out to them. Fantastic. That's actually my friend Janice and Joanny. That's their father. He is a gifted musician.
I did not know those Joanny's.
Yeah, Joanny and Janice's dad, Jose Luis Serrano. He is a gifted musician. And I mean, he's been doing this for years.
I have this. There's that signature laugh of yours.
When I tell you, I have seen him perform at like their backyard barbecues, but he does like real venues and he's been on tour.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this guy is he's a legend. He's like that voice. He's just that, his music, the man again. His musicality is just beautiful. So I remember when I was just like, I want something that feels us. I want something that feels very.
They saved a lot of your cocktail hour because like, you had some hangry Latinos coming in.
I know.
And there was like one table that was just with the hors d'oeuvres and stuff like this. But I think Catherine came through. She was like, she even served a lot of the guests. She was coming out with drinks. She was coming out because, unfortunately, we mentioned earlier, it's staffing is hard to find. So I know the venue was a little bit behind.
Oh, nightmare.
Oh.
I'm going to say, because that lady left.
Oh,
the wedding coordinator at the venue, she was new. She was new from when I booked it. So when I booked it, it was one lady. But then a few months later, that lady had left. So it was like a new lady. And I was like, oh, okay, let's get you up to speed. If it wasn't for Catherine did her job.
Yeah.
Catherine did that woman's job. And then I went to go send a nice thank you email. I got an out of office. After my wedding, homegirl left.
Yeah.
So
she tackled like all the errors, all the mistakes that were happening prior to your wedding, and it just piled on. the night of your wedding, like Catherine took on a lot, and I saw it in her face. And her and I were going back and forth. We're like, all right, let me worry about the reception part. You worry about the outside part, and we quarterbacked that really well. Because there was a few things that you had in mind that we had to really design. From your reintroduction with your second dress was absolutely amazing. I love that whole dance. Your moment with Dad, that was absolutely beautiful. Your moment with Father, yes. Oh, Dadu, where do I start?
Which, let me tell you, that to this day still makes us all cry. To have a moment like that with your dad under your belt, like that's all I wanted. That was always not my fear, but I'm like, I just want to get married, to get married, but I want to have a moment with my dad. Like
that moment with your father was really powerful, because when we put the song together, we put your voice, your message, which is about minute 20, if I recall. You really went deep with just what your parents went through, what your dad went through to come from Cuba, to come over here, to create that American dream for you. And when you got emotional putting that, just leaving that message for him, we all got emotional here playing it the night of your wedding. It was just like, we only saw you guys like almost like levitating, because it was so beautiful to see this come to life. And we all appreciate that moment that you were really opened up for your dad, and we all felt it. We all felt what you did for Dadu.
I think that is where your talent comes in, because I never would have, I guess, come up with that idea, but you were the one who was like, okay, no, there's some like voice features that we can do. And when you think of that moment with your dad, I'm like, Dadu is the dad of all dads. When I tell you, he's a professional father. He did fatherhood so right that how do you show your appreciation? How do you properly have a moment? How do you do it? And you need the tools and the resources. And that's where you step in. Like, I didn't know that was even an option to do. I'm not creative, but that's where you come in. Like, these are our tools. These are our options with some production and some editing and this and that. We can create the moment. You guys create the moment. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's what I have to say. And I've always wanted to have a moment where I tell my father how appreciative I am, because I think of his life and then I think of my life, and I'm like, how lucky am I to have a beautiful home, a 2-parent household, my dad going bike riding with me and going to the park and dancing with me and teaching me things every single day and teaching me about like debt and credit cards. And my dad was huge on why I went into financial services. My dad never wanted to owe money to anybody. My dad always was a very frugal person. Like, we would get in the car and go somewhere and I'd be like, Dad, let's stop at 7-Eleven. I want to get like a juice and some chips. And he would be like, ¿Cómo que qué? No, we have water and juice at the house and chips at the house. If you are going to get hungry or thirsty, you plan ahead, you fill up a water bottle, you get a baggie, you put your snacks in there, and you take that for the road. You're not going to stop and pay triple for something later on. So my dad was just such an integral part in our lives. And he was a Peter Pan child. Not a lot of people know what that is.
Yeah.
That's when it was 1960. Cuba took a turn, and Pan American Airlines allowed to open up their flights, and parents were putting their children on a flight, and those flights were going to Florida, New Jersey, Houston, Chicago, and churches were collecting these children until their parents could come. Some parents couldn't come for years. So my father's just there in Miami, with his brother, like collecting bottle caps. He was 10. So collecting bottle caps, he had his paper route, he'd cut some grass, he would help, do some roofing. And I'm like, so you're 10 years old with a paper route, doing some roofing, collecting bottle caps. And then meanwhile, me at 10 years old, I'm taking piano lessons, I have my ballet and my jazz, I'm going to Great Adventure, living my best little life, picking out my own clothes.
I mentioned this to a lot of people who are just inspired by what we've done, just in general, like the hustle. But I feel like everyone who's been successful wasn't an easy ride, but there's a story. There's always a story behind, and it could be yours, it could be your parents. But your parents, I remember your voiceover, which was like, Dad, you took this Peter Pan mission, like you said, and you brought us here, and you busted your ass and you gave us this beautiful world.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because like I continue to feel that moment with you and your father, and I call him Dadu up here in this.
And that's really all I wanted to do. It's like I wanted to thank that little boy for being brave, because I think of all the, like, I'm getting emotional now. Like, I think of all of the love and all the nourishment that I got at 10 years old. Meanwhile, was someone hugging him at 10 years old after his paper route? No, he's like sleeping on the basement of a church, like hoping that tomorrow's going to be a better day. And was someone building him up? Was someone encouraging him? And he didn't have the luxury of having all of the warm and fuzzies. Meanwhile, I had all the warm and fuzzies thanks to him. So it's like I wanted to thank the little boy, because I just wondered how many nights he had that he was probably like, oh, this sucks. Miami's hard. Like
he had to say to himself, like, he almost gave up. But he really, look, it's in your DNA. Margo,
yeah.
It's in your DNA. You can keep dreaming and you make it happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is another reason why it's like, I can't fuck this up. Like, I can't make all of his sacrifices a waste. Like, he's always told me, don't ever be a waste of talent.
You don't give excuses either.
No, like, just do it, because it was so much harder for everybody else. You're going to make us go through all of this and us come to where we've come for you to just be a mediocre, like, data entry clerk? No, Margo, achieve greatness. Come on. We've brought you this far. You need to now go even farther. Do not be a waste of talent. People have done such harder things.
Is Dad proud of you or what?
Oh, yeah. He's told me. Both of my parents are very proud of me. Yeah. They're proud. For sure.
Yeah, it's just you and your sister.
Yep, just me and Quithy.
You and
Quithy, because her name was Christina, but I had the ultimate lisp, so I couldn't say Chris. I couldn't even say my own name. Instead of Margo, I'd be like Margo, but instead of Christina, I would say Quith or Quithy. So I still call her Quithy.
Look at that. No, that's beautiful. It's compelling because it's also emotional. Because and when Dad heard that song, when he heard that message, like, what was that moment when you were just holding him? I don't think you really were dancing. You were just holding your dad. And what was his reaction?
It was a hold and sway.
Yeah.
It was like the hold and sway. I think he was like, oh, you didn't have to do all this. Oh, no. It came so natural. He's always, family doesn't have to say thank you. He's one of those. You don't have to say thank you. Like, it's what you deserved. It's what you wanted. He just loved it. And I sent him that voice note after you sent it to me. And then I did a screen record of my video and I sent it to him again. And it still makes him cry.
Yeah.
He's, oh my, you guys kill me with these things.
Goodness. You know what I'm doing lately? And I just I offer that option here and there. If the bride has a story, you have a story because you have no brothers, right?
Yeah, no brothers.
So I could tell that automatically you're very protected. Your parents are very protected with their girls. So I know where Dad's, heartstrings are. Like, I really know where that is. But my new thing now is I'm telling all the grooms, or better yet, the brides, if they have voice recordings of themselves when they were like 2 years old, 4 years old, 6 years old, if I could get little slips of some audio tracks of hearing her voice transitioning to a mature woman, and then that moment you say, Dad, all my life you raised me to be strong.
Oh my God, Jack.
I get chills doing it. I get emotional. That's my new thing now.
That's genius. But I feel like that's something that's like more available now, because like you have the voice notes since the iPhone came out, and like, where's my voice 30 years ago? Nowhere.
Just pop in the DVD or VHS.
It's like, where is Margo's voice at 5 years old? Nowhere. Maybe like in some weird VHS.
But it was a beautiful start to your wedding, and we paused a little bit because I don't think you remember a chandelier almost fell.
I heard that something broke, that there was glass, and you guys were still picking it up as we were coming in.
Yeah, we were going heavy with the sound system, and you had a lot of recognizable faces that were there too. You had some DJs there, you had some producers there. I love the crowd, and it was so cool and humbling to see. None of them approached us to be like, I am who I am. It was just like, it was almost like my resume was a dancer, my resume was my voice. And at the very end, or towards the middle of it, it was just like we were just having a great time. And it was great. I didn't know any of them, to be honest. But then you had these DJs, and it was really cool to vibe with them. And in the end, it was like, oh shit, Margo, you hand-selected your clients, and I feel like I said, I'm honored to be your client. But it was really fascinating to see how your whole crew, your family, your friends come together for your special day, and nothing stopped your wedding. And to this day, we continue to talk about your wedding all the time because there was a lot of shit that went down. But fortunately, me, myself, and Catherine, no excuses. That's one of my things I live by, is No excuses. No excuses. What do you live by? What words? What kind of motivation, or you have any?
Scared money don't make money. I like that one.
That's for sure.
Get in where you fit in. Sometimes we try to schedule things and plan things as much as we can, but sometimes it's like the time is now. Grab someone on the phone because everyone has such busy schedules that sometimes I'm like, hi, when can you talk? Let's carve out an hour and get in there. I love the no excuses also. Sometimes mistakes are made all the time and you're just like, let's get it done.
Be fearless. That's how it is.
And you guys I knew what I was doing. I knew that you guys were the best. When I was working with Catherine, obviously, I planned my whole wedding around your availability. I'll pull up the text message. I was like, when are you available in 2022? And you were like all booked. And somehow May 7th, I was like, I'll take May 7th. May 7th it's not a special day for me. It has no significance.
We're going to find out what May 7th means.
No, May 7th was the day I got married, but there was no reason, but May 7th was available. And I feel like that is the key. It's surrounding yourself with other like-minded individuals who are professional. Like Catherine just got it done. I got all my vendors essentially through Catherine. I was like, Catherine, who's reliable with the makeup and hair? Who's reliable with the floral decor and everything? I went with Rima because obviously I've been sweating her on Facebook and Instagram for years, but she's like, Rima's the best, man. She's one of the best. She gets it done and she's professional. And that's all I wanted. I didn't want to like wake up that day and have just pandemonium, people, no, this happened. And it's like,
we all came together, and you're very special to us. Now, I guess in closing, you're one of the greatest accountants and financial advisor. Is any little bit tips of success that you want to share with people who are in the industry of yours that want to become an accountant? Where can they start? How can they move up? Like
they want to become an accountant?
Let's just say if they want to be. I've gotten a lot of people, my clients. Accounting is tough now, but I could imagine there are some obstacles now in your field, especially with all these new rules and like legalities and all this other stuff that's been happening after the pandemic, right?
I would say that you really have to understand. This actually goes for any profession. Nothing is permanent. Tax season for me, it's really bad. February, March, and April, it's grueling. When I show you the volume on my phone, it's disgusting. It's disgusting the amount of things that come my way. And as much as I delegate and as much as I manage and as much as I plan, no matter what, I'm the face of the company. So people need to speak with me at least once. And I still have to manage it. I still have to delegate.
How do you separate that with normalcy? Like, how do you separate work and then normal? You're like,
my priorities have always been the 3 H's. It's always been my health, my husband, and my home. Like those 3 things, that's my priority. So my job lately, since I've gotten married, I used to be married to my job. But again, I started my job when I was, in my 20s. So for a good 10 years before even meeting Jason, I was all about Numila Inc. I would take flights. There were some weeks where I would go from Madrid. It would be like Madrid to Mexico City to San Juan to Colombia, then back to Miami. Like all in 10 days, I had a thing here, a thing there, a thing. I was constantly traveling. And I was constantly traveling because I wasn't in a relationship and I didn't have any kids. However, that's where I planted the seeds and that's where I was able to plan. So I tell people, if you're between 21 and 31, buckle down because what you do in those 10 years almost sets you up for what you could do for the next 25. And that was my advice that I really took. People are like, oh, you've been doing this for how long? I'm like, 15 years now. It's 15 years. For 10 years, I was on a flight constantly, going to everything. Latin Grammys, Latin Billboards, Premio Nuestro, Premio Juventud, all of the things. Meetings in person with everybody. Anytime someone wanted a meeting, dale, I'll fly there. Because that's what it would take to establish the relationship. Like, you need to see my face. I was going to San Juan.
Guerrilla entrepreneur.
That's really what it took. Now I can call people, but for them to trust me, they need to see me in person. So I would tell.
So this is your business tip: is to be aggressive. Be aggressive.
BEADGRESSIVEB.
There's that signature shoulder.
Don't start a cheer. Don't start a cheer.
Oh my goodness, Margo, you're always amazing. I always love. You could look into that camera in front of you. Just let them know if we're not to find Margo. We're not to call, so throw some fake numbers out. Throw your fake business card.
Don't call me. Don't email me. Don't Facebook. If I get one more Instagram message, should I make my son or daughter an employee? I'm gonna block you.
No, yes. So this is one of the best business cards I've ever heard, and I love it. I love it, and thank you. I'm sure once this goes out, I guarantee people are going to want to hear more about you know what the world's about in Margo's world. So
Thanks for having me, Jack.
all right, cool. Thank you. Behind the keys with Jack. All right, you did great.
That was so much fun. Oh my God, I can't believe I cried already. Cried before noon.
It's good. Got a little teary eyed.
I think we hit like all the major topics, like all the main.
It's a good like seed.
Yeah.
It's a good seed to start because once we start seeing the comments coming up, and when we put it on Twitch, we're gonna put it on YouTube, we're gonna put it on all these platforms, Spotify, we're gonna put it on podcasts. We're going heavy to just market this.
Okay.
And then once we start seeing the comments coming in, then it's like we can see what we're grabbing.
And they'll direct the content. They'll be like, oh, I want to see more of this or questions about this. Okay, what content is relevant to? Because I could talk about 50 other things. I just don't know what's relevant to the people that are watching this.
Yeah, we start a good basic, and then we'll dive more, if you want, more deeper into like savings of 401, IRA.
Oh,
because I was
yeah.
going to go into things like that, but it's like someone yesterday told me when I had this meeting, this client's a big timer, she told me to put all the kids into some sort of it starts with a T, some sort of savings or some sort of, you don't pay their taxes. You don't pay the tax. I was like, wait, this is a Margo question.
Section 529 savings.
Something savings, but it starts with the letter T.
TIA Roth? No. I'll Google it and I'll find it.
I don't know what it was. But anyways, everyone's throwing some different advice, and I'm like, okay, cool. I started that Amex thing.
Okay.
Because
Amex saving, high yield savings. That Crystal's all about.
Chris was like, oh, Jack, I didn't spend. I made this. I made $500-$600. I put $200,000 in it. So, I dropped a penny in there to make something out of it. Was that a good move?
Yeah, interest income is always fantastic. I always say, if you don't need it in your business, then you can park it somewhere else. But I always say, don't. Your cash flow is good. I always say, don't handicap your business cash flow because you're trying to make interest income. If you can't meet payroll, and I feel like now with Sugar Tree, like I would never have told you to do this in 2020 or 2021 because all of your liquid or extra money had to go into Sugar Tree because you're starting something. But now that Sugar Tree is established for the most part, now you can go into more.
Have you seen Sugar Trees? Is it steady? Now that I'm...
I feel like I'll have to see 2023. Now, it is stable. You're putting less and less money in there I haven't seen anything crazy.
We have a second tree coming out in Livingston.
Okay.
So
that's the franchise one.
Franchise. So we're getting 4% on their sales. And I think
who was it again?
Manny Vega.
Was that the guy?
Contractor.
The contractor, which is a good move for him because he can do a lot of that work himself, which is where you spent a lot of the money.
And he signed on board. And then we got 2 random ones from Kentucky and New York. But we don't know if we're just...
Okay.
We're going into this a little bit more. But it's